everyone. This is Neal with Graveside Paranormal Presents Spirits by the Graveside. Today's date is 3/27/2022. I'd like to introduce to you right now my new co-host, Miss Michelle Ward. Otherwise, we call her Shelly. Hello, Michelle. How are you today?
Great, Neal. How you doing?
I'm doing fantabulous. I got another day
Wonderful.
above the ground.
That's right.
I am
That's
able
right.
to share some time with a whole bunch of people today on Facebook, on YouTube. Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen out there, please subscribe to our really cool channel. I hope you like, of course. You'll be able to listen to the stories that we tell. You go on the YouTube, you just click that little bell that's up there, and then all of a sudden you will find out when all of a sudden the episodes will come on Graveside Paranormal. Now, enough with that. What's new in your world, Michelle? Anything?
Not too much. Just trying to keep busy. Just, the usual work, little ghost stuff here and there. Getting
Yeah.
ready for my St. Augustine trip in May.
Oh, you're
Going
going.
to the lighthouse.
Now, I went to St. Augustine. That
Yes.
place there, that is a real place.
Oh, it's what I call it one of my happy places.
Oh my God. I went
Um,
there. I took the whole family.
Yep, going
Yeah.
back. To be
Yeah.
our third or fourth time, I believe, going back there. And we're going into the lighthouse at night on a little ghost tour. So, really excited about that. Something to look
Yeah.
forward to.
And the people are really good there. They're very nice and
Yes.
they're easy to speak to, and they give
Yes.
you your EVP and your EMF if you want. You're able to bring in anything you want, really.
Right.
And I remember going there the first time I went there. And this young kid, we were both down at the bottom of the stairs of the lighthouse, right? And he flashed a picture up there, and all of a sudden there was this shadow person leaning over the stairs. And I was like, holy smoke. Just so, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I cannot swear. My producer, Steve, he explained it to me. He said, Neal, you got to cut back a little bit on the swearing. He goes,
Keep
it's
it
very,
clean.
am I right, Steve?
Keep it clean.
Our producer, Steve.
We got advertisers now, and
That's
right.
We got
only
advertisers.
show their ad if we don't use those special words that we like to use.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
so ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to be the best little student I can be in this classroom today, and trying not to swear. I'd also like to say something to my last co-host, Jill Urchek. Thank you for all the work that you did with
Yes.
all of us. Just so you ladies and gentlemen know, every now and then she will be popping back in. She just has some things going on in her life. So thank you, Jill, for being there for us each and every day that you
Yes.
came out here and the time that you spent with us. I appreciate that.
Thank
So
you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jill.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's do what we always do. Let's get on to the news, Stephen. Roll it. Now, this is kind of an old story. In 2016, the body of a mysterious beast with wings has been found in Mexico. And while skeptics claim that it is a trick, conspiracy theorists argue that the body may be the first scientifically confirmed corpse of a fairy or an extraterrestrial entity. But we've got a human body. We may study the human body to prove that something intelligent is behind these tests. Marzulli, which is a scientist, is also investigative, reveals that the enigmatic body is not a fake. It has wings. So recently what happened, Michelle, was that they did an x-ray recently. Even though this was from 2016, but Steve, pull up that picture again. Supposedly this is the skeletal system of the supposed fairy that they found. When we bring Jack in a little bit later, I'm going to ask him about this. I'm going to ask his opinion on that. You know what? What the heck? You see, and I didn't say another word. Steve, bring in Jack for a second. Hello, Jack.
Hey guys, how are you?
Jack, how you doing?
What's going on?
I'm pretty good. What's going on?
What do you think of this fairy? You ever seen this before?
No, but I don't know, Neil. I tend to be skeptical on this.
I'm you know what? I seem to be a little bit skeptical on a lot of things, especially lately, and we'll get into a little bit later, like we were talking about.
Is that a tail in the X-ray? Like dropping down from his bottom there. Is that a tail?
Oh, you know what? Only you would notice that, Steve. Only
Supposed
you
to
would
be
notice
part
it.
of the
looking for
wing,
tail.
maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
it looks like
Part of the
wings.
wing.
It looks like wings coming off the back of the shoulders as well.
Maybe so. I mean, look at
It
how.
could be a stinger. Is it a stinger, like a bee?
I mean, it's a long tailbone. Maybe it's a long tailbone.
Yeah.
I don't
My
know.
question is, does it wear boots?
Does it wear? Oh, okay. Does it have boots? I don't know.
No pun intended.
Yeah,
Song. Look it up.
yeah.
That's a Black
Now-
Sabbath reference right there.
Black Sabbath.
Good
Now-
job.
Just so, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to the show, we do put up videos. So for the ones who are listening to the podcast, if you want to enjoy the complete entirety of the show, of seeing all the videos and stuff that Steve put so much hard work into, also go to our YouTube station so you can see all the videos that we're putting up as well. So moving on into the news, into the next thing, Michelle.
How believers in the paranormal birthed the Pentagon's new hunt for UFOs. The Pentagon's new office has been rebranded as UAP, otherwise known as Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. As the stigma over flying saucers talk lifts and the military has taken UFOs mainstream, some have become more open about those beliefs. James Lakatsky, a retired DIA intelligence officer who set up the UFO program from 2008 to 2010, said, "People say, well, we're only going to look at the nuts and bolts machines. Well, you better come up with a lot of physics. It's far more advanced than we're capable of now. And then there's the others who say, well, they're nothing more than ghosts, part of the paranormal world. No," he stated, "they're a hybrid of both." And it goes on to say that one of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released an initial report in June of 2021, and it provided some context but left many questions unanswered. Around 144 cases were recorded since 2004 that cannot be identified. Avril Haines, the Director of National Intelligence, stated, "Of course, there's always the question of, is there something else that we simply do not understand that might come extraterrestrially?" Dun, dun, dun.
You know, we got to come up with a music theme on that one. Dun, dun, dun. You know, now, I really have to say that I think there is a correlation between the paranormal and aliens in certain circumstances. I've actually I was talking to Sam Moranto, actually at Jack's thing, at his event that he had a couple weeks back, and we were talking, could it be that it's not ghosts? Could they be aliens? Or
I've even heard stories that they could be related to shadow people.
Right. Like maybe it's shadow people are aliens. I don't know. You know, I've never been able to capture one yet.
Right.
And be able to sit them down and talk to them. As much as I would love to. But there is that wondering out there, is aliens really the thing that we're seeing out there, and it's not paranormal, that's more extraterrestrial? Could it be interdimensional? Yeah. Could it be just interdimensional? These are a lot of very good questions, and I think a lot of people nowadays, especially with the article that you were talking about, are leaning towards alien a lot more now, I would say. It's actually a very interesting subject to talk about, and I hope we can do that in our next show or something like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Now, in our next thing is a nice little story. These young ladies, they lost their phone. We're going to show you this video, and the video says it all. You're going to see that they lost their phone in the ocean or the sea, and watch this video now. It's going to be very delightful to a lot. Enjoy.
Är det fettekund? Men, oh my god! Är det kund? Är det kund? Ta.
Now that video there is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just goes to show you, and it kind of chimes into what we're going to be talking about tonight. That is an intelligent being. I'm not going to use the word creature. That is an intelligent being. It knew that that was something that was important to those girls and helped them. I saw that video. I was working my little fat butt off at the gym, and I was watching this video, and I was like, "Oh my God, that is so nice, man! That is so cool." I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That beluga whale grabbed that phone and gave it back to those girls. So you wonder, how far does their intelligence really go? You know, it would be nice to know, you know, how far, to find out how far their intelligence truly goes. Man, that would be also another really good show to find out about. Talk to someone in the marine world about that. Now, let's make some special announcements. Michelle, sorry. I do apologize. All right, Michelle, you have the first announcement.
All righty then. On Saturday, May 21st at 1 o'clock p.m., discover the unknown with Graveside Paranormal. Ride along in a luxury chartered bus along with our special guest, Bob Trezak. We'll visit the last resting place of the Grimes sister, Showman's Rest, and much more. Tickets can be purchased on eventbrite.com. Also, please visit us at gravesideparanormal.com for more information and follow us on Facebook.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Now, up to the next little announcement, Parapalooza. We had Kylie out here last show talking about Parapalooza. We are in need of vendors for Parapalooza, which will be happening July 23rd. As you can see by what you're seeing here, for the ones who are watching YouTube, we are going to be having on Saturday, July 23rd. Vendors will be working from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Branding Iron, the Pavilion on Harlem Avenue. This day is going to be a day of a lot of fun. We're going to have entertainment in the daytime. We are going to be having entertainment in the nighttime. I got Mr. Tony Sabowski, who is going to be doing ghost tours for us most of the day. So you have that. We have our vendors out there. Ladies and gentlemen, who, if you want to be a vendor, just so you know, you come out here and you be a vendor. You are going to be able to stay for everything after hours. No charge to you whatsoever. You are going to be able to enjoy the rest of the night. No charge for you whatsoever. So I want you to know that if you're going to be a vendor, you're part of the family for that day. And whatever I get for free, you get for free. I don't get much for free, though, just so everybody knows. I usually have to pay for everything. But let's get some vendors out there. I think this is going to be a very good time. We're going to have Hellbilly Deluxe out there. They're a cover band for Rob Zombie. We are going to be having Absolution, which is a cover band for Ghost. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be having we're actually going to have Uncle Bob, who we were talking. We're going to have Ghostly Podcasts out there. Yes, they're going to be doing an interview with a special guest to be announced later. We are talking to other podcasters at this time that we're going to be getting them as well. So we're still talking about entertainment. So moving on to next week, Michelle. Where are we going? Where are we going next week, Michelle?
Going to the Monroe House in Indiana.
Yes. So we are going to go out here and investigate. Now, what's cool about this, ladies and gentlemen, next week, live, we are going to do a live show from the Monroe House with the owner, Eddie, at 7 p.m. Special show, Spirits by the Graveside, next week. This is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of scary good time. I hope everybody can tune in for next Sunday. All I can say is boo on that one. Ooh, I can't wait.
Definitely boo.
Definitely boo.
It's exciting. It's been a while since we've had a good overnight like this.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yep. Now I want to welcome in right now Jack, Mr. Jack Chavez.
Hey guys.
Back, Jack.
Jack.
What's going on, dude?
I'm pretty good.
Right,
how about yourself?
I'm doing good. Number one, I want to say thank you very much for having us at your event a couple weeks ago. We all had a great time. You did a great job. Yeah, that's us right there, yes. As you guys can see. Jack did a great job. I hope to look forward in the future to be going to another one. Just not anytime soon. We got a lot of things going on, but sometime soon.
A lot of people have said that a lot of people mentioned you guys afterwards and said what a great
Great.
setup you guys had, and they really liked Neal, they liked Shell, they loved Steve, and
Thank you.
They a couple even mentioned that they want to go on your tour, Neal. So
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That was one of the main things. Get us out there, and you gave us that opportunity, and I appreciate that. I truly do.
Absolutely.
All right, so that takes us into our show, Jack, and why I called you out tonight. I like to start my own show with Jack and call it "What in the World of Jack." I think it should be something that's put on like an Animal Planet or a cryptid show. What in the world of Jack? What's he going to find? I think that would be a good thing. Just remember, you got that here first, Jack. You got here first. All right.
Animal Planet. I want to be on MTV.
MTV? All right. Well, we'll get to where you got to go eventually. Don't worry. But what we want to talk about is prehistoric animals. We want to talk about mermaids, the Kraken, giant squids tonight. And I said to myself, I know the right guy. He's a buddy of mine, a chum. And I'll bring him in. And Michelle, she's very knowledgeable about a lot of these things. So let's start off with mermaids. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a merman, Steve. All right, mermaids. The reality of mermaids.
Okay.
What's that?
Sorry about that. Sorry, I didn't know there was a difference. I just.
Yeah.
There's mermen and mermaids.
Merman and mermaids. Okay. There's a difference.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not a marine biologist, but I'll go back.
You're not a marine biologist. Where have I heard that? All right, so the reality of mermaids was assumed during medieval times when they were depicted matter-of-factly alongside aquatic animals such as whales. They had the tail. They supposedly had a fin. They also had gills. Hundreds of years ago, sailors and residents to coastal towns around the world told of encountering these sea maidens as well as the mermen. One story dating back to the 1600s. By the 1800s, hoaxers churned out fake mermaids by the dozen to satisfy the public's interest in creatures. The great showman P.T. Barnum displayed the Fiji mermaid in the 1840s. That's the Fiji mermaid that they had, that P.T. Barnum had out there, basically to fool everybody. If he really did have it, cool, good for him. But I'm going to bet that's not real. What do you think, Jack?
No, it's not real. This is a hoax.
I heard what he did was he took like part of a fish and part of like a monkey, and he put them together. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, that they were pretty much sewed together, and P.T. Barnum was always looking for a new exhibit. So there was a lot of collections that he had that were actually hoaxes. But it did definitely fool a lot of people.
Yeah, and he's the one who I believe he's the one who said a sucker is born every minute.
Yeah.
So that actually leads me into, speaking of sucker is born every minute, and I feel bad that I have to really talk about this. In 2012, Animal Planet Special Mermaids Edition, The Body Found, renewed interest in mermaids. Now, before we get into the video, they got me. I ain't gonna lie to you. They got me, man. I really believed that this was real. I started calling my brother. I started showing my daughter. I said, oh my God, look at this. These two biologists are down here in the sea, and they're filming, but it wasn't to find a mermaid. It was to find other creatures underneath the sea, the depths of the sea. And then all of a sudden, this mermaid comes across. Now, I want them to watch the video. Steve, go ahead and watch the video. I want everybody to see this. This is very good. Well done.
We're with former NOAA biologist Dr. Paul Robertson and joined by Dr. Torsten Smith. He was the lead geologist on a submarine crew that recorded on March 6th of this year the astonishing footage we just watched, and I'd like to start out with some reactions. Dr. Paul Robertson.
I'd really like to see what's on that second camera.
I'm glad. I think we all do. Our viewers at home, too, would like to see that. We're going to show you that right now. Let's take a look.
Oh. Wow.
Dr. Robertson, sorry, can we play that back, please? Can we get the footage of that back up there? Can we, in fact, why don't we take both cameras, first and second sync, and let's roll them together. Can we do that? Take a look again. You got it. Dr. Robinson, is this the creature that you and your team found in South Africa?
From what I can see here, yes. The body recovered was incomplete, but based on the remains that were taken from us, it looks like the same species.
Now, I watched this, and just like I said, P.T. Barnum said, there's a sucker born every minute. Man, I am that sucker. They got me. Hook, line, and sinker. No pun intended. And I watched this video, and I was like, oh, my God. Jack, you've seen this video, yes?
Yeah, I watched it when it first came out. You know, I gotta admit, like, I was a little bit skeptical. I wasn't sure, but I was a little bit skeptical when I saw it, you know, just because we've been in this field for such a long time, and we always come across, you know, these videos and these images. So I was kind of skeptical. I was wondering, you know, what was going on, what was behind this. And even when I did some research when it first came out, you know, it seemed like everybody was pretty much on board that, like, this is a hoax. And then later on, as you know, they did openly say that it was a hoax.
Yeah. Michelle, did you ever see this video before?
Oh, I sure did. Immediately, I was like, no way, no way. I was immediately calling BS on that. But I did know a few people who totally believed it, totally thought it was real. And if you rewatch the clip, the one that was just played, watch the reporter's face. There's one time where he just looks like he's trying to hold back a laugh. He kind of smirks. Just the demeanor of the actors. Yeah. Nah.
So, Steve, we actually talked about this earlier about that video. Right. Because I brought up the fact, I said, why did if he's the one who did the video, the biologist did the video, why did they get so excited and say, oh, we caught it. You would have already known that you caught it.
Right.
You see, and I wasn't paying attention to after the fact. Yeah. And then, Steve, you said something that's really important.
There's a little body language thing that I picked up
on.
There was
the eye contact.
There was a lot of acting involved and stuff.
Right.
But did you see the duper's delight? Duper's delight is when you think you've lied and gotten one over somebody, and physically you can't help but smirk a little bit, like
exactly.
A smile.
That's what I was talking about with the reporter.
Yeah. So
little quirk in his lip
gave it away.
Mm-hmm.
That was to me, even though it was bull, they did a hell of a job, you know, trying to convince me. I'll tell you,
it was still good. Great entertainment.
They put a lot of effort into that.
Great entertainment.
So that was taken 3,000 feet deep too, as well. Now Michelle wants to talk to Jack about kelpies and selkies. Am I correct, Michelle?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
These are more of like the Celtic and the pagans that believed in them. Kelpie is pretty much a shape-shifting male water spirit found mostly around Scotland and Ireland. They could disguise themselves as animals, but their main shape was described as a black horse-like creature. They even refer to it in later times as a Clydesdale. They were found mostly around lochs, rivers, and the sea. It was said that because of their gorgeous appearance, the handsome kelpie would lure their victims to the water's edge and then drag them to the depths below. They were known to be evil, but possessed the strength of 10 horses. Capturing one was near impossible, but there are stories of them being captured and put into the field to break rocks and boulders for the lords and the clan chiefs of Scotland. And the picture that we're showing right here is in Scotland, in Falkirk, Scotland. And these statues are actually called the Kelpies. And they're about 98 feet tall. You can actually go inside them, but you have to schedule a tour ahead of time. They are one of the largest public artworks in Scotland. And on the inside, there's a horseshoe embedded in the floor as a symbol or some sort of link back to the mortals. But there's been many stories about those. And then the other creature that is very similar to the Kelpie was also called a Selkie. And again, they were found around Scotland, Ireland, and Iceland. And they were an aquatic mere creature capable of changing its appearance from a seal to human form.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Pretty
Selkie
cool.
actually meant seal in Orkney, and Orkney is in the northeast area of Scotland. There are numerous stories, films, literature about these creatures, but they all seem to have the same theme. It begins with a lonely man who lives near the sea, encounters a beautiful woman who turns out to be a Selkie. He would then hide her seal skin because if she ever found it, she would give everything up and immediately return to the sea. And there were other tales that the man never knew he was married to a Selkie and would wake up in bed next to a seal.
Wow.
And there was one movie actually from 1994, and I kind of remember watching it, called The Secret of Rowan-Inish. And it's a film about a girl who discovers her family's secrets about their Selkie ancestry. But many ballads, many stories about the Selkies exist and still exist to this day. As you know, they worship the all those creatures over in Scotland and Ireland to this day.
Wow, that's cool. Jack, what do you know about these things?
Yeah, so a lot of this is reminding me of the research done by David Paulides. David
Yes.
Paulides wrote a series of books called Missing 411. And in these books, he goes into different regions and he talks about mysterious disappearances. And some of these disappearances, people will be found in water, in shallow water, and they'll be found face up. Whereas if you drowned in water, you're supposed to be found face down. So these mysterious deaths that are connected to water, and I've wondered if perhaps the Selkies and the Kelpies, if they're responsible. Are there mythological beings that hide within our ponds and our lakes, our oceans, that lead people astray? You guys are probably familiar with these a series of disappearances and deaths that happened in La Crosse, Wisconsin, over I think it's like a 10-year period, where they fit a similar pattern where they're all college students, they're males, they're athletic, and they would have been drinking a little bit, and eventually they just kind of get separated from their friends, and later on they're found in a body of water. I'm wondering, is just as it was in mythology when these beings were fought or encountered, these like a Hercules type person, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So what if these athletic young guys posed a threat to them because of their physical capabilities? And what if they lured them for that reason? It's kind of a working theory I have. I don't know for sure, but there seems to be something about this connection between these guys, and usually it is guys, males, that they break off from their friends, they disappear, and they're found dead in a body of water.
And you know what, Jack? I've heard similar stories here in Chicago. My sister and I brought this up a while ago. Similar stories. The young guy goes missing from college after a late night with friends, is either found in the river or in Lake Michigan. So,
right.
Now,
these stories have been like just recently within the past few years.
Now, Jack, is it that this creature takes the form of, because you're saying it's young males, very muscular, good-looking guy, basically, right?
Right.
And somehow or another, this Kelpie is or a Selkie, which one? And
Kelpie is the
Kelpie.
male and a Selkie is the
Yeah.
female.
So it's almost
Normally, yes.
okay. So then it'll take a form of a female to basically lure this person in,
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
and then it will attack this individual.
So
And they always
there-
describe like the Kelpies as a gorgeous man and the Selkies as this beautiful maiden-like creature by the
Right.
sea.
Well, that's
And-
almost like I'm sorry, Jack. It's almost like incubus and succubus.
Yes.
yeah,
Could,
pretty
yeah?
much. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Go ahead, Jack. You were saying.
There's one story of it was a survivor, and he said that he was hearing like cries of distress coming from a nearby lake, and he was drawn to it, and he kind of just blacked out, and he for whatever reason he survived it. So what if these beings they try to seduce in different ways, either cries for help or appearing as a seductress or a seductor and luring them that way,
Wow, that is man. Now I wonder if I went jogging. If I went out there, would they try to seduce me? Do you think?
Of course.
Of course. Of course.
Look at
No.
you.
Look at me.
Look at you.
Yeah. No, that's actually a pretty cool story, and how it's just like the succubus and incubus story. How it's almost created the same way. Where it's drawn. Yeah, it's odd.
There's actually a very recent story. It's pretty fresh, so I don't want to give any names, but it was in downtown Chicago. There was a guy, a young guy. I guess he said that he was supposed to be meeting up with people, and he started to take his shirt off by Lake Michigan, and then he turned to some people that were nearby, and he says that he thinks that he could make it or swim across.
Right.
And he jumped in there, and he died. And what's weird about that is I did some research, and I found where he was working, and I found the social media of some of his coworkers. So I went on their social media to the day the day after or so of when he passed away, and pretty much like 2 or 3 of them were like, the story doesn't make any sense. It's so weird that he would do that. So if somebody's going to say, oh, well, there's mental illness involved, yeah, that's a possibility, but I don't know. He seemed like a pretty, down to earth, athletic guy. So, who knows what happened.
So these things are luring people in, manipulating them somehow or another to go ahead into the water.
Right.
Wow, unbelievable. Man.
And
That's
like what Shell was saying is that, they often shapeshift as well.
Yeah.
So are they shapeshifting into something to lure them, not just something beautiful, but like, is there? I'm even wondering if there's, because some of these sightings I notice are accompanied by balls of light. Is there something in these balls of light that's luring, something that's getting inside their heads?
Right.
That's manipulating.
And it's almost also to Irish folklore of the banshee, in a sense.
Yeah.
It's luring it in, and it probably has the look of a beautiful woman. And then supposedly the closer that the boat got, am I right on this, Michelle? Then it would change shape and become an ugly witch.
Yes, and the banshee was also known more of as a warning, a foretelling of death.
Right.
When you heard the banshee crying and the banshee wail, it was said that someone close and dear to you was dying shortly.
Wow. Those are some really cool
Celtic
stories.
folklore.
Yeah, and it's odd how like you have something that's going on here in Chicago that's similar to something that goes to Celtic folklore. Meaning, how far does this really spread out to be? And how close, how's a story that's all the way in Ireland from many centuries ago also the same story here in the Chicagoland area? So there has to be something to it.
Right. Well, I always say we bring our culture here. We brought our foods here. You know, they come from Poland. You bring your pierogies. Ireland, you bring your customs. They also bring our stories. Um, Example, chupacabra. I believe the first story started in Mexico. Now there's stories in New Mexico, Texas. It's spreading. Another favorite story of mine from Mexico is La Llorona. She originated in Mexico, but now there's sightings around, Texas and Mexico too. Are we ourselves keeping these alive by keeping the story going? And there was an old saying that when you stop saying someone's name, that means they're gone forever, something along that line. So they always say, talk about the people that are gone but you loved. Always keep their memory alive.
All right, so that's going to lead us into, Jack. Have you ever heard of a thing called a magna pina?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
All right. Now, all right, so it was a little joke earlier, ladies and gentlemen.
Tell you later.
Show you a video. When I saw this video, it scared the heck out of me. I was like, what in the heck is this? Steve, can you roll this video for us? This was taken well under the depths of the sea. What it's going to show you is almost alien-like. Go ahead. So you're seeing right now, for the people who are watching YouTube, look at that. If all of a sudden you were underneath the sea like that and you saw that there, that looks like something alien. That would scare the heck out of me right off the bat. And it might be because of the camera, because it's moving so slow. It says, while little is known about the magna pina, squids in general, it is believed they grow up to at least 23 feet, over 7 meters long. Yeah.
Do we know if this is legitimate or?
Yeah, that's See, now you bring up a very good point here, Jack. Like we were talking about Animal Planet, okay? Animal Planet is supposed to be this legit show based network that's supposed to be showing you the best, the most legit things out there. And what do they come up with? That mermaids thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I found this while I was just doing regular research. Supposedly it is real. But once again, how do I know suckers born every minute? I really don't. I'm not a biologist. I can only present to people what I'm finding and ask people like you who are a little familiar with it, ask Shell, and what you guys think of your opinions. What would you think if you saw something like that, Jack?
That it comes from another planet.
Exactly.
Yep.
We have so many things that are underneath, deep down in the seas, because we can't go to the darkest, deepest depths of the seas or the oceans. We can't.
Well, that kind of reminds me of so there is a story. It's called The Blip, or The Bloop, I should say, or Blip. I don't know which one. I forgot. But basically, it was recorded in the depths of the ocean of this deep, deep sound. And when oceanographers studied the sound, they said that whatever it is has to be larger than a whale. But they couldn't go to the location when they finally did pinpoint where it was coming from, because the sound underwater encompassed several hundred yards. When they finally pinpointed where it was coming from, they couldn't go to it because it was so far down the ocean that we still haven't been down there.
Right.
The rational explanation some of them came up with was that it was an ocean quake or a water quake, an underground earthquake basically. But others have said that, it has more animalistic sounding properties, and whatever it is, it would be much larger than a whale.
Right. Now, I know that I did watch a special on, I think it was Discovery, where they were looking for giant squids, right? And they said that they're down at the deepest depths, but their food of choice is sperm whales. And so what they did is they were able to mount a camera on top of the sperm whale and let it dive to its deepest depths. And they did that for like months upon months. And I remember watching this special because I wanted to see it just like I watched the mermaid special. So all of a sudden this thing is going down. It's legit. Now this is legit. This sperm whale is going down to the deepest depths. And then out of nowhere, this large eye opens up. Now, could someone have CGI'd an eye in there? Yeah. But could there be something that in prehistoric times we had large, like, what's the name of that one shark?
The Meg.
The Meg.
Megalodon.
Megalodon, or these giant squids that we now call the Kraken, or from lore, they would call it Kraken. Could some of these things still exist? Could prehistoric animals still exist? Maybe they're not as big, or maybe they are, but they want to stay hidden underneath the depths of the oceans or the seas. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. I mean, if there's vast areas of the oceans that we haven't been able to explore, then certainly something from prehistoric times could have survived, some plesiosaur. But I think you do make a good point that if it's closer to the surface, it's probably much smaller than what it was millions of years ago. But if they're able to have survived deep down in the ocean, then yeah, it could be much larger.
Right, and that'll take us now into the Loch Ness. And Michelle, you wanted to talk about the Loch Ness. Bring up the picture, Steve.
The Loch Ness Monster, who is better known as Nessie, is one of the most famous water creatures of all time. The story originates in the Highlands of Scotland in Loch Ness. Loch actually means lake. And the stories began a century before the first modern day sightings. An Irish monk, St. Columba, heard a story of a man that was killed by a water beast while he was swimming. Well, of course, not believing the story, he sent one of his followers to go swim in the lake. Yeah, chicken. The beast approached him, but Columba made the sign of the cross and shouted, "Go no further. Do not touch the man. Go back at once." The creature stopped instantly and retreated below the waters. And the photo you were looking at right now was actually taken in 1933 by Hugh Gray. He was strolling along the shores when he noticed a commotion in the waters. Suddenly, an elongated creature appeared, which prompted him to begin taking pictures. Some say it's only a dog with a stick in its mouth or a floating log or branch. However, more sightings and photos began to emerge shortly after Gray's famous photo was published. No proof has yet to be found. Submersibles and sonar have both been used, but Nessie seems to keep eluding everyone. Several videos claim to have captured the beast on video. And you can Google Loch Ness Monster, you can Google Nessie, and you will find millions of articles about it.
Jack,
but that's one of the creatures that, is it real? And again, you're talking about, prehistoric animals. Think about the Mariana Trench. And we just recently started figuring out what sort of creatures are down below there. We can't, as humans, even dive that far. It'll kill us. But yeah, just thinking about all those creatures.
That Mariana Trench is like a cavern that it's almost like a sinkhole, right?
Right.
And
I think I describe it more like a trench. If you look at it on a map, it's just like you're walking and drop off the face of a cliff straight down.
And there's a difference in temperature, correct?
Yes. And no light can penetrate down there. Creatures live down there. Oh, goodness, can't think of the name of the fish. It's got the light on top of it. But there's a lot of creatures down there that can't see. They use fluorescent lighting down there to get around. Pretty cool.
Well, God gave them a light bulb on their head.
Oh, that fish. I can't think of the fish. My niece would shame me right now because she knows the name of it.
Yeah. Jack, what do you know about that?
So we know that photo is a hoax. I mean, Hugh Gray did say that. Eventually, he did say that it was a hoax, that he helped hoax it. What it is it's a toy submarine with a I think it was a dinosaur figure that they put on it. But I'm not totally skeptical of the Loch Ness Monster sightings. There is an official Loch Ness Monster like sighting list from the Loch Ness Monster like research group, and the list is they're up to like over 1,000 sightings. It's like 1,000 and something. I forgot the exact number. But even if you take into account that a lot of those sightings probably are just misidentification or hoaxes, you could have something still there, with the trench involved, and the Loch Ness Monster isn't, the only alleged plesiosaur that's still living. I mean, we still have, the 5 Great Lakes have sea monsters as well, or sea serpents. But
Champ.
Yeah, Champ.
Like
And
Champ
actually,
thing.
there is a great photo of Champ that hasn't yet been disproven. And what it is, it's like a neck coming out of the water, but it's not looking toward the camera, the head. It's looking opposite of the camera, and it's not black and white. It's in color, so it's a pretty good photo. And I'm wondering if maybe is that legit.
Yeah, like that picture that we first showed at Loch Ness. I got the same thing that it was supposedly it was a dinosaur, a toy dinosaur or something like that originally in the picture.
Yeah.
And I'm not discounting that there isn't a Loch Ness monster.
Right.
It's just that some people will go to extremes to, either get in the limelight or try to just prove to people, even though they're giving a false positive, that there's something. Just like when you have like people running around in gorilla costumes pretending they're Bigfoot and shit. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, Steve. Sorry, Steve. I did swear.
Bleep. Bleep.
You tried.
I tried. All right, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying. I really am. But now let's get into also another really cool thing, very prehistoric, and we were talking about it, the giant squid. The video you're going to see here was a video done. Some scientists came across. They were luring in to look for a giant squid, and they had other fish out there for prey. And I think you're really going to enjoy this video here.
Very good. Well done. Oh, that's great. Well done.
The squid continues to feed on the bait. Hunger overrides its natural instinct to flee.
Once we realized that there was no way that squid was going to let go, that's when the show began.
Look at that. I mean, now that's amazing. And it goes back to what we were talking about, something prehistoric that's still living. And that brings us into the story with Michelle, the Kraken. Tell us a little bit about that, Michelle.
The Kraken. This guy's one of my favorites. Now, this legendary sea monster that lives off the coast of Norway on the ocean floor. Its tentacles were sometimes called horns by the Norsemen. One description said it is so large that it can swallow ships and whales. Its body could be mistaken for land, and its teeth for rocks and boulders. Its movements can even create whirlpools. Now, most stories depict the Kraken as a hunter of humans and a destroyer of ships. But to me, I think it was actually a lazy creature. It spent most of its time sleeping on the floor of the sea, and the only reason ships were destroyed was because they couldn't get out of the Kraken's way when it came up to eat. It was first described by King Magnus of Norway in 1180, and it's been seen in many movies, such as Pirates of the Caribbean, Clash of the Titans, and many more. The giant squid could also be the Kraken, which can actually grow up to 42 feet in length. And this creature also dwells on the ocean floor, and they also have toothy tentacles. So the Kraken, to me, again, another fascinating sea creature. Hollywood just, glamorizes it even more so. But
yeah,
I always wonder, like these stories, how do these stories start? Were they drinking too much mead on the Viking ships as they're crossing the ocean? I mean, it was pretty cold and pretty rough out there on the seas. So,
Yeah, you never
or
ever
did
know.
they witness our actual giant squid?
Well, I
Yeah.
think you got to remember that this is a time where, navigation and mapping out the oceans was becoming popular. So
Right.
people back home wanted to hear tales of what was taking place. So they kind of would,
Exactly.
take these actual animals and they would just kind of exaggerate them. But
Just
I
like
do,
when men go fishing, it was this big.
right,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think that from all those sea monsters, a giant octopus or a giant squid is the most realistic. I mean, we
I
we
agree.
have we have squids that are like 40 feet long. I wouldn't be surprised if there's actual squids that are much bigger than that we haven't captured yet. And maybe that does lend some truth to these stories that came out during that time. These, oversized octopus or squid. Maybe not as big as swallowing a whale, but pretty large
Right.
nevertheless.
Yeah, and I remember how I was introduced to the Kraken is from that one movie, Clash of the Titans. But I was
Yes.
young, you know. I
Yes.
needed the money. No. And I just I remember watching that, and I was like, wow, that's the Kraken. Wow, that is a good movie.
He's
That
pretty
was a good
cool.
one. I'm sorry, I had to get a side note on that thing. So now the thing called Michelle brought this up. I've never heard of this, and Jack has never heard of this. The Drogon.
The Draugen, or it can also be pronounced Draugr, and it's also a Norse mythical creature. Um, and Draugen in Norse actually means ghost. And this creature was actually a ghost of a man who died at sea. And they would say these were the old Vikings. And he's huge and covered in seaweed and rowing a boat. Some people have often said that when he is seen rowing this boat, he can also be headless. And when he appears, he emits a horrifying scream. Legends say that he would be seen on stormy nights, drowning sailors and fishermen and capsizing boats. One story is a man that ran from Draugen into a churchyard where he shouted for the spirits of the dead to help him. The next day, after the graves were open and everything was covered in seaweed, he's always associated with the deep, dark sea. And now I wonder, with this creature, does that bring what's the word I'm looking for? Thalassophobia, which is the fear of deep, dark waters. Stories with Kraken too. We talk about cautionary tales. Could all of these stories also be some of our first cautionary tales?
Right, right.
Going back to Selkies and Kelpies, you let your children play outside. Maybe it's one story to tell your children, oh, don't go close to the water, or the Kelpie or the Selkies will get you.
Or a legendary.
Growing up, my parents used to tell us they would make up crazy characters just to scare us kids from not going outside or not doing something. So I have a lot of those crazy stories.
Like a legendary creature that people keep talking about, and just like a topa, you build it enough, enough story into it and feeling into it, they actually come to life. What do you think of that thing, Jack?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because, with all these mythological beings that we're talking about, I wonder if they're topas that get passed around from culture to culture, or, I have a Tibetan book. In it, it talks about how it doesn't use the word reality, but basically it talks about how reality consists of multiple layers, and in each layer, there are monsters in some of these layers, and we're living in one where there's no monsters. But sometimes I'm thinking or wondering, what if sometimes these monsters could bleed over? So the idea of the mermaid, or the idea of dragons, the idea of the vampire, these ideas, these creatures, they persist throughout cultures around the world, from Native American cultures to Celtic peoples to ancient China. How are these beings that we take as mere fairy tales, how do they persist all around the world? Well, what if it's because they do exist, just not in our plane of existence? What if they just kind of seep over sometimes?
Right, like interdimensional.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
For lack of, yeah, I didn't want to say interdimensional because that's just, but yeah, basically you're right, interdimensional.
Right.
It's okay. Now, that's a very interesting story. I mean, actually, he looked like Shrek. That's what I thought that was. I thought we were going to talk about Shrek. But this comes from the Chicagoland area, and I'm going to give it over to Jack. But let's watch the video. Supposedly, there's a lake monster in Lake Michigan. So roll the video, and then Jack's going to explain. Go ahead, Steve. Now, me and Jack, you're also on audio right now. Down at the end of that pier, this black thing is right there. It's showing up. You see that, Jack? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of you're gonna see it's kind of bobbing up and down. It looks like it's black, it's elongated, and it looks like some sort of maybe sea serpents. So it's interesting to keep in mind that all 5 Great Lakes have had their sea serpents. Pressy of Lake Superior, Bessie of Lake Erie, the Gassianditha of Lake Ontario, or Gassi for short, and the Mishu Bashu of what's the last lake? Of Lake Huron. And then Lake Michigan has its sea serpent as well. It doesn't have a cool name like the others, but this video footage came out a couple of years ago. I believe Fox News covered it, and it kind of just like spread like wildfire a couple of years ago. So you see it right there at the end, kind of.
It was on the pier.
Yeah, it goes past the pier and it disappears. Mm-hmm. So the Lake Michigan sea serpent, the first sighting, or I should say the first recorded sighting, took place in 1864. It was sighted by a fisherman named Joseph Mulkey. What he described is Joseph Mulkey was a sailor, and he described a sea monster or sea serpent that was 60 to 70 feet long with a small head and a long neck. Uh-huh. That was on August 6th. Now, fast forward one day, August 7th, 2 schooner ships that were sailing close to each other, all the men on board both ships saw the same thing. They described it as a large creature that had a long neck and a small head, and it had a grayish underbelly. Mm-hmm. And this was reported in the Chicago Tribune. And ever since that time, down the decades, people will have seen this Lake Michigan sea serpents, and that seems to be the latest sighting. That I believe that video came out, I want to say in 2019. Okay. So down the decades. Now, I wouldn't say that the Lake Michigan sea serpent sightings have been as prominent as the Loch Ness monster sightings, but every so often, every few years, another sighting will come out for this.
Now, could it be? It did look very eel-like.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Maybe you can help me out on this. Are eels saltwater animals?
I got to be honest, Neal, I don't know.
So the reason why I'm asking the question is because we've been noticing as of late in the world, like take for instance, bull sharks. Bull sharks were recently seen in Lake Michigan, okay, and they are technically saltwater animals. But somehow or another, these creatures are moving their way into freshwater places. You've heard about this?
Yeah,
I have too. Yes.
So I'm wondering if. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jack.
So it could be an eel, but one of the things that I was thinking of, one of the things that I think sea serpents are misidentified as are oarfish. Oarfish are like these really long. They're snake-like fish, and they could grow up to 26 feet long. And there's a famous picture on the internet. It was a group of Navy SEAL men, and I think like 15 of them are carrying this oarfish, and it was really long. And people thought it was a hoax, but actually it turns out that it's an authentic picture of them having captured an oarfish. It was actually photographed by a scientist from the Field Museum here in Chicago.
Wow. I have to say, man, I'm really enjoying this show tonight. I really am. I find such a fascination with all these deep sea creatures. Everybody wants to go out to the outer space and this and that, but we have everything we need right here. I mean, we haven't even discovered so much of this. Steve
Right.
actually has a question for you. I believe Steve had for a lake monster. Didn't you have something, Steve?
Yeah, I was wondering, Jack, have you heard of the Crystal Lake monster?
No, not familiar with that actually.
No. Well, I have a video of it caught, and I
Don't
want
be
to get your
scared.
opinion on what you thought of this
Oh,
Crystal Lake
cool.
monster.
Show us.
That's what I was thinking of actually.
For people who don't see it, the Crystal Lake is Camp Crystal Lake. In this video here, that's actually a statue, and that's is it Michael Myers, right?
No, Jason
it's
Voorhees.
Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, I don't know why I always mix them up. So you got Jason Voorhees, and he put the statue, and there's more than one place that they've actually put those statues in.
Right.
It's actually used as a training thing for deep sea diving. They built this little thing, and they don't ever tell the people who are learning to deep sea dive that like Jason Voorhees is down there.
How not to panic.
Yeah, I said let's see if I want to see if Jack knows this lake monster, if he identifies it.
Is
Good one.
Jason considered a lake monster?
Seriously,
No, I vote
he
no.
can't be- no,
I'm
I
saying
think
yes. I'll tell you why I
vote no.
say yes to that he's considered a lake monster. Okay.
Okay.
Because in the movie, he went underwater and he drowned.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, he's breathing. Right?
Okay, I'll give
We
you
need
that.
people
I
in,
guess.
in the
And he
comments.
comes to life
That's right.
from the lake
Yeah.
where he dwelled. Lake monster. Lake monster.
Please leave
Yeah.
your opinions in the comments.
I guess since he's
Yes,
not
if you've made it-
fully
if you-
human, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
Put your opinions
But
in the
if
comments and
made
tell
it
us
this
what you
far,
think. Do you think it's a lake?
If you made it
Is
this far in
Jason
the
Voorhees
video,
a lake monster?
let us know.
Yeah.
So a lot of these sightings, of mermaids and selkies, we always think of mythology, but people often forget that they're sighted even to this day, even in modern times. One of them was actually during World War II. There was a military outpost in the Kia Islands. That's Key Islands, I should say. KEI, Key Islands in right near Indonesia.
Mhm.
And in the Key Islands, in the military outpost, the Japanese soldiers they kept encountering what looked like, mermaids. And at first, they were just kind of like laughing at each other about it. But as the nights went on, these beings were getting closer and closer. And eventually they would see them kind of jump onto the rocks. And one of them turned around, looked at them, and they described it as humanoid with a large, like carp-like, the fish carp, a carp-like mouth, so like this wide mouth.
Mhm.
And it had webbed hands and webbed feet. And they kept, and then it would also, when it seemed like when it was trying to talk to them, it would make this gurgling, burping sound. And so a sergeant there, and he would hear this from the soldiers. His name was Sergeant. What was it? It was Taro Horiba. And he went to the villagers, and he asked them if they were familiar with these like mermaid-like beings. And they said, yeah, we've coexisted with them for a long time. They just kind of keep to themselves. But if you go close to them, then they're going to attack you. So a couple nights later, the chief of the village went to the sergeant and says, "Hey, we captured one of them." And then the sergeant, he was skeptical, but he's like, "Okay, I have to see this because my men are seeing something out there." So he went to the village, and sure enough, he came upon this humanoid being that was dead, and he described it as a pinkish color with like salmon-like skin. And he said that there was a row of like spikes in the back of its head, and it had a large gaping mouth. So, and that was just during World War II. So that was like in the 1940s. So these things are still cited to this day. I actually did find out if there was a Sergeant Taro Horiba. So I was looking all over the internet. I really couldn't find one. I found one thing, but it wasn't a Japanese military officer. It was actually an American military officer, and the name was T. Horiba. And the document that it was a PDF I found online. It listed this person as a military intelligence officer. So I found that really interesting.
Wow. See, there you go again, Jack. Man, good research. That's why you're going to have your own show. It's going to be called What in the World of Jack? I'm telling you. This guy's good. On MTV. No. Not on Animal Planet or anything like that. He's going to be on MTV. He's going to be dancing. What in the world of Jack?
That's right.
Well, you know what? That brings us to our conclusion tonight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, first I want to thank Jack for coming on tonight. Jack, as always, you're always an awesome guest. You always bring good knowledge to us. You help us out. Michelle, you did a hell of a job today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Job with everything you brought. Ladies and gentlemen, is there something still out there that we have not been able to notice in the seas or in the oceans or even in the lakes? Could they still be roaming around? Will you be the next one to find out? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll never know until you come to us with one of your stories. Come with us next weekend, though, as we go to the Monroe House live for an investigation, speaking with the owner, Eddie. And as always, boys and girls, boo.
Boo.
Thank you, guys.
Take us out, Steve.